My name is Alice Kirk, and I am with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and I serve as Child Health Specialist for Extension. I'm honored to also serve as the chair for Texas Action for Healthy Kids, working alongside Michelle Smith, our Texas State Coordinator for Action for Healthy Kids. Next slide. This morning, we are going to start off by going over a couple of logistics for today. Our workshop today is being recorded and everyone is placed on mute. Please be sure to be on mute throughout, and as questions arise, please enter them into the chat. You may listen in with your telephone or your computer speakers, whichever is most convenient. And again, please, if you have a question, place them in the Q&A or the chat box. Preferably, if you have a question, please put it into the Q&A versus if you just have a comment, you're welcome to include it in the chat. We will be monitoring those throughout the morning and try to get to everyone's questions and comments. Additionally, all of the resources for today will be emailed out following today's session, as well as information about how to watch the recording if you have to skip out a little early today. Before we kick off, I would like to see, let's please see a show of hands from everyone that's on currently. If you did not attend yesterday's part 1 session, and that is if you did not attend yesterday. I'm going to give just a few seconds. Thank you, Melinda. Okay, so far, okay, so I see about 10 to 12 that did not attend yesterday's session. If you happen to miss yesterday's session, I encourage you to go back and watch the recording from yesterday, because yesterday, as being part 1, we really did cover some really important basic information, including how to lay the foundations for an effective SHAC. Today, we are going to continue building on to that. Yesterday, we had a great panel that started the discussion on how they organized and hosted their SHAC meetings on a regular basis. Today, we are pleased to have another group of strong SHAC members to continue the discussion and to share both the challenges and successes and lessons learned along the way with their SHACs. Their SHAC work. We hope that everyone attending our day 2 session will walk away with at least one gem that they can use as they work locally with their SHACs. And today we are really pleased to have a couple of representatives from schools, a parent, and a community partner, all of whom are committed to our healthy kids. Each of our SHAC presenters will have a chance to share a bit about their SHAC once we go through a little bit of a review on SHACs and what the goals are. They will each have information to share about their work, but if they don't cover something that you need help with or you would like a follow-up, please, as I mentioned earlier, put your question in the Q&A box, and we will continue taking questions throughout the morning. Today, we have Mr. Mario Reyna with McAllen ISD, Amanda Kennington with Goose Creek ISD, Melinda Cox, a parent representative from Northeast ISD, and Miss Joy Self, a community organization partner who is currently serving on Seymour ISD's SHAC. And you'll be hearing from them here in just a little bit. Next slide, Michelle. So first, as we kick off, and again, if this is a review for a few, please just bear with us. First, a little bit about who we are. Action for Healthy Kids has been engaged in work with schools around nutrition and physical activity since 2002, when Dr. David Satcher, in his role as Surgeon General, declared we had an obesity epidemic. Teams from across the US gathered in Washington to strategize on how we could have an impact through schools on our children's health. Since that time, we have expanded our vision to not only focus on nutrition and physical activity, but to encompass the whole child model, with the goal of having children who are active, healthy, and ready to learn. Next slide. We encourage you to please visit our website, where you will find resources to support your work around nutrition, physical activity, and social emotional health, both on campus and in a remote setting. Next slide. Here in Texas, we have a robust and active steering committee. Monthly, our steering committee meets with representatives from a variety of foundations, organizations, and agencies to help shape our initiatives and support collaborative efforts statewide. Today, we are sharing information on school health advisory committees, specifically those at the district level. As a subset of the steering committee, we have a SHAC subcommittee work group that is focused specifically on issues that SHACs face, how we can best support them, and most recently, we've been working on information to help equip schools in the reopening of their districts. This group, as you can see here on the screen, includes several of our steering committee members and several school districts who have all been instrumental in helping plan our SHAC webinar series, such as the one that you will be participating in today. Next slide. So let's kick off today with first talking about what is a SHAC. SHACs in Texas were originally formed back in the late 1990s to allow parent and community input on sexuality education. They have since evolved much over time to encompass all aspects of student health, from nutrition and physical activity to social and emotional well-being. Today, SHACs are district-level advisory councils that are committed to assisting districts and ensuring that local community values are reflected in the district's health education instruction. Next slide. SHACs are mandated by law. Each school district in Texas should have a SHAC, and the SHAC should be appointed by the school board. As I mentioned earlier, initially, SHACs were to serve as voices for parents and the community. They still are today, and SHACs are really an excellent way to educate the district and the school board about how important health can be to the academic success of our children. SHACs are mandated to review all health-related curriculum, and over the last 10 years, their scope has expanded to include all components of a coordinated school health program. However, it's really important to note that the school board does not automatically accept and does not automatically have to approve SHAC recommendations, nor do they have to implement them. This is why having a SHAC is so important, because it is up to all of our SHACs across the state to help push and support those values and ensure that the information that is being covered is in fact what we're looking for. So, oh, next slide, please. So why do we need SHACs? SHACs have become more and more essential because so many of the issues and really the risks that our children face are behavior-based. And since our kids spend the majority of their days at school, whether that is online currently, face-to-face, or a hybrid, it's still important to recognize and support the healthful behaviors and ensure that they have a safe and a healthy learning environment. And SHACs are really how we can make that happen across the state. SHACs are the connection between schools and the district in all matters relating to health and wellness. Our schools are incredibly overwhelmed with anything from testing to all of the reopening plans related to COVID. And oftentimes, some of the SHAC interests can become ignored. SHACs make sure that the things that can impact our children's ability to be successful, things like being physically active, having nutritious lunches and breakfast, ensuring that policies are in place to avoid bullying, even making sure that they have a safe place to play. All of those are goals and places with policy where SHACs can have an instrumental impact. Many of these items are driven by district policies, and SHACs can ensure district policies are reflecting both community and parent input in what's best for all of our children. Next slide. We know SHACs are important, but how do we get people involved? And how do we ensure that the policies which SHACs develop reflect the community, school, and parent culture? The answer? By ensuring robust representation on your SHAC. So I ask, how many of us struggle getting members to participate, not only in SHACs, but with other organizations at times? I say, since 50% of your SHAC should be comprised of parents who are not district employees, that we start there. We encourage and focus our parent recruitment from the very beginning. Consider looking to parent groups like PTAs, or working with parent support specialists, school counselors, and even the front office staff who can help identify parents who seem to show the most interest in school involvement or volunteer opportunities. Also, asking teachers for referrals and putting information in the district newsletters and school newsletters and websites can be another great strategy for getting people involved. In addition to parents, who else should you have on your SHAC? It's really important to consider district engagement. For a SHAC to be successful and sustainable, you truly need district support. Involving district personnel on the SHAC can be very helpful. District personnel do not have to be voting members on a SHAC, but it's important to have their input on the decisions that you will be making. Having a school board member on the SHAC, again, even as a non-voting member, can give your SHAC added credibility and awareness. When you're talking to school administrators, it is most effective if you can relate test scores, showing the connection between health and academics and physical activity and behavior. All of these strategies can gain you support from school administrators. You will also see on this list that it's incredibly important to include community partners on SHACs because they bring value to the table as well. Whether it's clergy, senior citizens, a local business, a local county extension agent, law enforcement, or other non-health profit organizations, sharing resources and networking can be instrumental in helping meet healthy school goals. Next slide. Additionally, having SHAC champions are very important. What kind of champion do you want to have on your SHAC? If you don't have any, who might be good? One parent champion is good, and two parent champions are much better. Again, consider looking to your PTAs and having someone at the district as well who can tie into community leaders and can perhaps support some of your efforts, not only in the school, but also across the community, can be very, very valuable. Next slide. So we're going to turn our efforts now into looking at what makes a successful SHAC. And what we're going to do is turn over our sessions here to some of our panel discussions. As I just noted, it's important to have a variety of representation on your SHACs. And in the next few minutes, we will be hearing from the variety of panelists that we have available today, including the two school representatives, a parent to give her perspective, and a community partner who will also share the value of participating in a local SHAC. So let's kick off, Michelle, if you would, our next slide. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Mario Reyna from McAllen ISD, who's going to share with us a little bit about how their SHAC in McAllen is functioning. Mario.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you to share some of our best practices. Okay. So at this time, we can go to the next slide. Once again, my name is Mario Reyna. I'm the coordinator for health and physical education here at McAllen ISD. Been here for about close to 20 years in that capacity. And I'm also the district SHAC facilitator. And I want to go back and say something again of what Mrs. Kirk talked about, that I highly recommend. If you weren't part of yesterday's presentation, go back to that SHAC in Action Part 1 webinar that I misspelled Michelle, sorry. Rachel and Leo and Stephanie and everybody else. It was pretty awesome. Myself, I've been part of SHAC for many years and I still learn from it. So it's always good to go back and take a look. And that was a great presentation. And so I just wanted to make sure I say that. And I also want to emphasize that of the 100 plus participants that we have here, is that who is that SHAC champion in your district? You have to have that SHAC champion in your district, and more than one is a lot better, to be honest with you. And I will tell you before I go on to the next slide that as a health and physical education coordinator, I understand about the whole community. I understand about it's not only about physical education, physical activity, it's about the 8 components that we always talk about. But I also like to say that we live in the world of standardized testing. And that's why SHAC is so important to me, because honestly speaking, as a health and physical education coordinator, I don't know if I would have continued that path if it wasn't something like that. I had SHAC to help me along the path, because standardized testing puts a lot of pressure on principals, on our school board, and sometimes the emphasis is there. So thank goodness for SHAC, I've been able to get some things done that has helped to address the total development of the child. So always keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So just to gain some confidence from you, we have a bunch of school districts throughout the state of Texas that do a wonderful job. And the way you can see some of the accolades that we've accumulated that are wellness based, okay? And the only way we got there is by joining webinars like today and getting a little bit from other school districts, okay? And I always tell everyone, I am Mr. Master Copycatter. If something's already done, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Just go and grab some good ideas, best practices, and use them. And as you can see here, I mean, we were an It's Texas Time a SHAC award winner in 2018. And that's good to take a look at where's your SHAC? What are they doing? So I encourage you, I don't know if that award is still there, but if it is, I encourage you to look at that. Of course, we're the home of the Texas Superintendent of the Year. That's who McAllen ISD is. We are 4 hours south of San Antonio. So that's how south we go. We're only 5 miles from the Mexican border. And we got 31 campuses, 21,500 students. And we also have about 3,300 employees. Now, something that I'm very involved with that has helped us to develop a culture of wellness in our district is we're part of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. And at any time, if you want to know about that, you can also communicate with me and I'll let you know, which helped us to where all of our schools, 100% of them are on the America's Healthiest School list for 7 consecutive years. And that helps us to develop that wellness culture. We also, this past year and in other years, we've been part of the It's Time Texas Community Challenge. And that's in January and February. And we were the #1 school district in the medium-sized division in the most wellness points. And even though we're not the largest school district by far, we were the #1 school district in the state of Texas for wellness points in the entire state of Texas. And once again, the reason I tell you about that is that if there's anything in your district, in your area, in your community that can help you develop that wellness culture, it makes it a lot easier for you to have a successful SHAC. Next slide, please. So this is in the next slide. This is what I wanted to talk a little bit about, the context. We know it's a state law. You already heard that from Mrs. Kirk. We know that 2020 was hard and it will continue, we're going to get better at it, but there's no excuses. You got to just keep on going, keep on trucking, make sure that your SHAC is still available, okay? And one of the things I'm big on is customer service, okay? And that plays in very much into SHAC. If you're going to have a membership that wants to be part of something, then you got to provide that customer service, okay? So I'm real big on that. Now, my purpose of my presentation is to talk to you a little bit about membership, what's worked in our district about engaging parents. And the parents to me they're the most important group, to be honest with you. That's what I've noticed, even though every group is very important, okay? And of course, you got to get that school board to be part of it. They got to buy into it. And then the district administrators, they got to be there, okay? And of course, my superintendent. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about participation virtually and in person. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about accountability and impact, okay? But I do want to tell you one thing, and this is what I do with my own. I have 100 staff members in my department. And one of the things about staff development, and this is a little bit almost like staff development. So one thing I like to encourage is that if you just join just to say somebody told you to join and you have that attitude, well, you're not going to get nothing out of it. You've got to get something out of it. Like I said, our SHAC has been very successful. I've been part of SHAC for many years, but yesterday's presentation, I got a lot of things out of it. And I'm going to go impact as soon as I can. So I don't know what capacity you're in, but make sure that if you went through this presentation and yesterday's presentation and you don't get nothing out of it, then it was like you weren't here. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody, but that's just the style of how I talk to my physical education staff. We got to implement. You're going to learn something today from your presenters. I guarantee you. Next slide, please. So like I said, the membership to me has always been real important, and the emphasis has always been there on parents, 50% or more. And that's something that I do. And to be honest with you, sometimes I've had parents at about a 70-75% clip because they can be very influential. Now, you have different kinds of parents. Sometimes parents just get there and they're there. But I love it when I have those advocates, especially for wellness, for the whole child approach. And I don't have a problem with parents that can be vocal, because sometimes those are the ones that will pay attention to you, okay? And or we get the school board will listen to them, all right? I do want to tell you that in the membership, I always ask the school board for them to provide me with parents that they would like for us to have on our SHAC. And a key thing about parents, I don't think, you know, if it's a parent and it's a school district employee, I don't count them as parents. It has to be a parent that is not a school district employee, okay? Now, something that over the years has helped me I've had meetings where I've had up to 40 people, but I've had meetings where I've had up to 3 people, and it was just a sad deal, right? So it fluctuates. So what we've done, and I probably got this idea from somebody else, is real simple, like anything else, do a survey. Find out what's the best day of the week to have your meeting, and then find out what is the best time to have a meeting. And what has helped us a lot here in the last couple of years, it's helped. I mean, it's worked. Every year is different, but now we provide food and we meet at noon. Okay, so that has helped us out a lot. We have a budget item. Actually, it's in my health and physical education budget line item where we find out how many parents are going to come to the meeting and how many SHAC members are going to come. And then we order food, and it's worked out pretty nice. Okay. And the other thing that has helped me, not even knowing this, is that when I try to find out like 4 or 5 days prior to the actual meeting, how many people are going to come in, I tell them, hey, you need to let me know if we're going to be meeting because I got to order food for you. So at that time, if I only have 4 people that responded, then my secretary starts calling the parent or the former school board member, hey, you need to let us know if you're coming or not. Then once they say they're coming, I give them a hard time and I tell them, hey, you got to come because we ordered that food. So that's just a little strategy. It's worked pretty good for us. Okay. And next slide, please. So on the next slide, it talks a little bit about school board and administration. And, you know, like SHAC and anything else that I do in my health and physical education department, I can't get anywhere if I'm not going to have that school board support. And if I don't have the district administrators and the principal. The good thing is that it is a state law, okay? So sometimes people forget it's a state law. It's not a choice. We have to do this. And I just, you know, because I've done that for so many years, that is the culture that's already established in our district, that we know that SHAC is part of the total puzzle in McAllen ISD. We're also on the website that you can go and you can check it out. So I do use that a lot. And in this slide, as you can see, I mean, I was going to tell you the SHAC champion has to be in place. Somebody there that has to be there. And the more, the better. I have a team in my district that are district administrators, like the director from food services. I get the director of counseling services, even the person that's in charge of the nurses. And we're our team, right? But you have to have SHAC champions in place or not, it's not going to get anywhere. But the good news is that because if we go to the next slide, you'll see what I'm talking about a little bit, that it goes back to that participation. Who wants to participate in something that has no culture, okay? And it does take time, but you can do it, okay? And then who wants to participate in something that has no value, okay? And obviously, the SHAC was put in place many years ago, and as it was already explained to you, it has evolved. It has evolved into something that's amazing. And I will be honest with you, because I do talk to a lot of health and physical education coordinators and other wellness advocates throughout the state of Texas. And I still say, back in the day, I was very disappointed that there was a lot of school districts that were not taking advantage of why the SHAC was there. I think things have gotten better, but I hope they get to a level to where, like certain school districts that we've already heard from, how they were able to take advantage of it. Now, the third bullet there that I have is impact. And if there's no impact and you go from year to year, and it's just for the purposes of meeting the state law about meeting at least 4 times a year, then it's just not there. That's not a good reason to just have the SHAC. You have to be part of it. You have to see if there was impact. And I know, like I told you in my job, because of some of the impact that the SHAC had, then it helped my life become a lot easier. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, like anything else, accountability and impact, once again, is so important, okay? And I will tell you this, we created, thanks to the SHAC, and it came under an administrative regulation, which is the last bullet you see there on the slide. And what happened is a wellness compliance form was, sometimes you have certain things that you can put in place, and we had them under administrative regulations. And that's real difficult for me to explain at this time, but that's a process that you can use in the school district, that you don't have to go necessarily straight to the school board for approval. It's an administrative regulation that you go and you get through your superintendent, and that's something that you can do in your district. We've taken advantage of that because we noticed that we had, because we're involved with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, we had certain things like what other districts have problems with. You have PE minutes. And then we were noticing that even though the state law says you have PE minutes, right? But because of standardized testing, they were going in there and taking out PE minutes from our kids because they had to give the kids extra time for tutoring. So now, when you're looking at a person, myself, Mario Reyna, that I needed to be out in recess, I needed to be out in physical education, that's me. So when they would take that away from me, it was just not a good day for the remainder of the day for the poor teacher. So I understand that. It's not good to take away minutes, okay? So we noticed that was a problem. We noticed that even though we have recess in our district, we've had recess for about 15 years, that's mandated. And then we improved to 20 minutes of recess. And it was even, lunch before recess, okay? So we even did that, okay, which was an accomplishment, right? And I'll be honest with you, Alliance for a Healthier Generation helped us with that. But when I presented to the SHAC, everybody was for it, and we made the changes. That's just one example. However, people were not, my PE teachers were telling me, oh no, they're taking them out. We're not having the 20-minute recess. So we developed a form called the Wellness Compliance Form, where I would send it to every principal, and they had to, it was the first Wednesday after the 6 weeks, they had to report to me in writing that they were not taking kids out of PE, they were not taking kids out of fine arts, they were not punishing kids with taking out physical activity or recess. They were also, we talked a lot about junk food and stuff like that. So we had to put that in writing. That was about 3 years ago. Where now we've improved that, and now I only require that wellness compliance form at the end of the fall and at the end of the spring. So you can see how it improved. And the principals don't like more work, okay? And they didn't like that there was more work. And here I was sending them a reminder that it was not there. Now here's another secret. My boss is also the boss of the principals. So she put it in their evaluation if they were submitting this wellness compliance forms, and if they were not only submitting it, but if they were following the regulations. Okay, sometimes I might not be popular with principals, but you know what? I'm not here for principals. My passion is for the wellness of our children. So that's how I get away with that. And of course, I'm a sports official. Some of you don't know that. So to me, it doesn't bother me if I get booed by principals, because I'm used to getting booed when I'm officiating. Okay, the next one, and I'm going to move a lot faster because we have a lot more to share with you. But on the accountability, you can see the SHAC, they have an assessment tool, and maybe Michelle, you can talk a little bit about that. Action for Healthy Kids, establishing priorities. There's some real good documents that are available for you that might help you, and maybe Michelle can talk about that. School board presentations. Most districts will do an annual report and they submit it in paper. We don't. I go before the board and I give them a report, and that gets documented, okay? And then in the past, we've had some resolutions that were adapted and they were board approved, and the resolutions were about recess, that we were going to adhere to recess and blah, blah, blah. So next slide, please. And once again, my name is Mario Reyna, and it's a quick presentation. Now, I'm the type of person that anytime I do a presentation, I will always be there with follow-ups, okay? So if you have any questions on myself and any other panelists, and you need help with anything, you got to reach out to me. It's not going to be my job to go look for you because I don't know where you're at, right? So if there's anything, I don't charge to be a consultant to help you with SHAC. If you have any questions, I am here, and you know, thank you for this time. And now I'll turn it over to the next presenter.
Thank you, Mario. Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me today. Hello, everyone. Great job, Mario, on your presentation. I totally agree. I have learned so much just from sitting through these webinars and presentations and listening to others. And I thank you all for the opportunity today. My name is Amanda Kennington. I'm proud to serve Goose Creek CISD in my first year as the Healthy Community School Coordinator. Next slide, please. So Goose Creek CISD serves about 24,000 students in the communities of Baytown and Highlands. We're east of Houston, Texas, and Goose Creek expands about 134 square miles and is comprised of about 28 campuses. We have 6 high schools, 1 alternative center, 5 junior schools, and 16 elementary schools. And just to give you a little perspective too on some of the, the crises that we face, we have about 73% of our district is on free or reduced lunch. But our mission here in Goose Creek is to develop the whole child. Strengthening community partnerships is one of our strategic goals in Goose Creek CISD. We really rely on increasing those community relationships. That's one of our target areas. And we also want to strengthen effective communications. So that's more vital than ever as we strive to provide those opportunities and experiences for our students. Today, I want to share my role as the facilitator of our School Health Advisory Council in Goose Creek, as well as the challenges that we've overcome in reestablishing our SHAC this year and how that ties into our mission and our strategic goals. Next slide, please. So the first step this year as the SHAC facilitator was to kind of orient myself with all the roles and responsibilities, the laws that surround SHAC, beginning to kind of create an infrastructure, educating our administrators in support and commitment of the School Health Advisory Council. And so I had to really look out for some really good resources. Action for Healthy Kids and Michelle have been just wonderful at providing resources, have found information on It's Time Texas, the webinars that you see here. There's several more on It's Time Texas that are shared in Action for Healthy Kids. I found information on Alliance for Healthier Generation on those websites. I've communicated with, we have a partnership called Be Well Baytown. It's an initiative of the University of Texas, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and I really relied on their support as well, and that's sponsored by ExxonMobil. We've also had conversations with our SHAC representatives, many of them that we have seen in the presentations yesterday and today, who were kind enough to volunteer their time and insights on just the experience that they've had with SHAC. And so I would encourage you, just like Mario said, to reach out. It was a little scary at first to put myself out there, but even today, just before our webinar, I was able to reach out to some of these SHAC representatives from various districts and just ask quick questions. So they've been wonderful as support for the functioning of our SHAC here in Goose Creek CISD. Next slide. And so in order to be successful here in Goose Creek with our SHAC, we really had to start really from the ground up. First, we had to recruit and orient, create awareness of school health programming and the policies of SHAC. We had to have continuous communication, which is very important to key individuals around the district, the campus, community, and recognize support. And of course, in the middle of this pandemic, it's been very difficult, but we've overcome several of those challenges and persevered. So we also have to really assess the needs that are going on before we can really establish any goals or objectives for our school health programming here. It was important for us to start assessing some of those needs. And so we created a Whole Child Initiatives page, a SHAC website, just so that way we can start kind of communicating and orienting our community about what a SHAC is. During the school year, we also utilize things like jot form, district email, the website that I just mentioned, to invite individuals to be a part of our SHAC. One thing was many of people that thought about joining our SHAC thought we were a COVID task force. So we had to go through some of the motions of explaining of what the SHAC role and duties were, and that we could have, some advice to give to our school district as they reopen, but that the sole purpose was not the pandemic. So we had to communicate using many online tools and apps because we weren't able to meet face to face. We had over 100 individuals that attended our orientation meetings. We equipped those members with understanding their roles and responsibilities in the policy. And we were actually successful in growing our SHAC membership this school year to a final 39 members to serve this year for the 2021 school year. So we have 39 members, 29 of those are parents. And our parent members, they represent many occupations. We have nurses, we have aspiring teachers, financial advisors, homemakers, counselors, police officers, travel agents. We have a forensic partner, and a member from the Coast Guard. So we have several members that represent different occupations just from our parent membership. And just to kind of break down how we have met, we have done our virtual WebEx meetings. We have had 6 meetings. Our final, actually 4th general meeting is coming up in just a couple of weeks. We have 4 subcommittees that are broken off into health education, physical education, and physical activity, which is a required subcommittee, that physical activity subcommittee. We have a nutrition subcommittee. We have a health and mental services subcommittee. We have a family and community / staff engagement subcommittee. And we also have an ad hoc committee formed to review our wellness policy, which is important to us. So each one of those subcommittees is actually where all the work of our SHAC happens, where all the main discussions happen, where we can get ideas from one another and from our district experts and things like that. As far as like our district members, we have, just like Mario was saying, we have representation from many different areas. So we have our district representative, like the athletic director, who represents our physical education. We have curriculum instruction joining us for our health education. We have counseling services, the directors from those areas. We have nutrition leaders. We have also a community representative. And in the future, we'd like to build on this to include school board members, which I've heard even today and yesterday about how important it is to have those district leaders a part of those meetings. So we have some room to grow as well. We host virtual meetings to communicate with those key individuals. And it's always great for SHAC to engage individuals. And definitely, like I've heard as well, is that it's here just mainly to provide voice from all the stakeholders. And so communications continue to be shared, but we also, that I don't have this on the slide, but we also have campus wellness teams. So each one of our 28 campuses, we reach out to each one and communicate as a corollary to our SHAC. So it's like kind of a mini SHAC on the campus level. And those campus wellness teams have a champion, and that's who I directly meet with and share ideas from the SHAC, and then find out what the needs are at the campus level. In both the campus wellness team and our SHAC, we follow the whole school, whole community, whole child model to work together to ensure that all of our students in our community are healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. Next slide. So as a result of some of the challenge that we faced, like I said, we reestablished our SHAC this year. This is my first year here in Goose Creek CISD. The community's been very welcoming, but we needed to find a way that we could actually, pull all 39 members, all their vision of what this SHAC was going to be. We had to pull it all together. And so one way that we were able to do this that I wanted to share and show you here are these word clouds. And so what we've done is, whenever we reestablished the SHAC, we used a worksheet that was from the Texas guide book for SHACs, and it asks us a set of about 8 questions about the community and school. I took all of the questions and answers from that document, and I placed them in what we called a word cloud. because I was wondering, how are we going to take all of these different responses and views on all of these different community, questions, and how are we going to really see what it is that we value as a SHAC? And so I would encourage you, if you are ever, trying to do something similar and trying to create a mission or a vision for your SHAC, you can use word maps or word clouds. This one actually was from wordclouds.com. And we put in all the answers to those questions. And the larger that the word appears on the word map was collectively how many times that the answer was given. So let's say, for example, opportunities. Opportunities really stands out on that word cloud. Well, many of our SHAC members had used that as a response to one of their, answer to their answers. And so when we created these guiding principles that you see on the screen, we really use those word clouds to kind of form what is going to guide our, our SHAC moving forward. And we have a theme about growing healthy giants here in Goose Creek. And so we really did want to utilize that when we were going through our guiding principles. So as a final word, thank you for your time and opportunity today to share about SHAC and Goose Creek CISD. I know we'll be able to answer some more questions. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of some of the work that we've done. My name's Amanda Kennington from Goose Creek CISD. You can email at shac@gccisd.net. And again, I want to thank everyone that has had a part in the success of our SHAC this year, from our local partners to all the districts that have been sharing information with us, to Action for Healthy Kids and It's Time Texas. I definitely appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. We both Mario and Amanda have done a wonderful job sharing their insight from a school district perspective. And now we're going to turn our attention and hear from Melinda Cox, who is a parent. And let's hear her perspective, if you will. Melinda?
Hi, thank you, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Melinda Cox. I am a parent with the NEISD school district. I have one kid that's already gone through, and I have a senior this year and a sophomore. We're the second largest district in San Antonio. Just reading off from the slide here, we are the 10th largest in Texas. We educate over 60,000 students every day with 9,000 employees. Half of those are teachers. We have 70 campuses, 2 magnet schools and 12 magnet programs. Next slide, please. In the fall, which we're really excited about, we're going to open up the Institute of Cybersecurity and Innovation. We have dual language offered at 16 elementaries, 1 pre-K, 5 middle schools, and 1 high school. Next slide. During the COVID-19 school closure, school nutrition services provided more than 2 million free meals to district families. We're still doing that currently during the week and over the weekends. And we are at a free and reduced lunch rate of 48%. Next slide. Our SHAC, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've been with SHAC for, I guess, almost 5 years. And if I remember correctly, I was recommended. I've been a PTA volunteer for 10 years with the district. I currently also sit on our NEISD Council of PTAs as the Healthy Lifestyle Chair. So this has kind of always been on my radar. I've often been the Healthy Lifestyles Chair at the local level as well. I think I was recommended years ago by a school board member who I worked with through the school board and my PTA volunteer. So I was recommended for my position on SHAC through that person. And, I think many times the PTA or the PTOs or whatever sort of volunteer, maybe a watchdog program or whatever sort of volunteer programs you have on campus are a good source, a good place to reach out, because you have parents that are already committed to students and the day in and day out of the campus. So I've been on SHAC for over 5 years. I primarily have sat on the nutrition subcommittees, and safety and healthy schools is the subcommittee that I'm on currently. We have 28 parents on our SHAC. We have 50 SHAC members all together. We have 6 meetings a year. We have 5 subcommittees. Our subcommittees are Kids School Healthy Advisory Committee. We have Fitness and Physical Activity. We have Nutrition. We have Safe and Healthy Schools. And of course, Classroom Health and Sex Ed. So like I said, we have 28 parents. They're from every school in our clusters. Our parents, myself included, help SHAC be reflective of our local community values, which I think is one of the most important things that we bring as parents, just to help emphasize that from a parent level, from a campus level, maybe from a volunteer level. We aren't employees, but we're on the ground at the campuses at the local level. So we get that chance to work with administration and to be part of the kids' day, and also with parents through volunteer opportunities. We aren't simply, I think our SHAC and NEISD is kind of unique in that we aren't there simply to rubber stamp a policy issue. We have direct influence through committee work and SHI, the Student Health Index, to make recommendations, not always tied to a policy. So I guess that's kind of you have policies, and then you have that have to be put into place, and then we are able as parents, we have a real value there as parents, free from restrictions of being employees, of being able to look at student health indexes and see what kids need. And we're able to help schools identify strengths and weaknesses of health and programs as parents, which I think is kind of a special privilege and value that we bring to the SHAC. So I was just given some questions, which I'll just continue to answer. The second question here was, what challenges has your SHAC overcome during COVID? Well, this was a kind of a hard one for me to answer. Outside of the obvious learning curve needed for meeting technology and the obligatory pivot we all had to make.
Melinda?
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to let everybody answer those questions. That was more just
Okay.
to prep you so that you know what you're going to ask. So if you want to hold your answers on those after we have Joy talk, we're going to ask everybody the same questions. So
okay.
Sorry.
All right. Well, that's okay. My apologies.
no,
Well, I guess all I would leave, I guess we'll go to the next slide. And just a little bit more about our SHAC. We have really great community partnerships. We have business members, district staff, senior citizens, and board members on our SHAC. The structure is very important as a parent. We know when meetings are, as much as Mario alluded to. We have food at our meetings, which helps. You know, we come in and we eat lunch quickly, and then we get our meetings started. You know, they can run over an hour, especially if we're doing committee work. So it is a time commitment in that regard. You know, it's 6 times a year, but it's very structured and very organized. And so that's it. What it does is just, as a parent, make you feel like your time and your contribution is valued. So as far as recruiting people, you know, I would reach out perhaps to your, like I said before, your volunteer organizations. It really is a unique opportunity as a parent. I've served on our leadership program. Like I said, I've been a PTA volunteer for a long time. And a lot of those bring great opportunities and a chance to be involved. But this gives you as a parent sort of an inside look as to what our districts deal with and what is important and you're just a further advocate for students, which is why I've remained there for so long. Just to keep that parent voice there, that kind of in the trenches, and just so that you can, it's just a unique way to advocate for your campus and other students throughout the district with good policy and using good numbers and data and taking it and actually making it real time and making it matter and count at the campus level.
Melinda, this is Mario. I just wanted to share right away. Look at your slide right there. Do you recognize that logo?
Yay! I do.
Okay. Remember I told you that I like to copy stuff?
Yes.
So I saw it on some presentation from Northeast and I thought it was great. So, and I use these notepads to give to our committee members. So I thought I'd let you know that I mean what I say when I copy from people.
That's awesome, Mario, and I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons I keep showing up is for the notepads and the lunch.
Thank
We'll
you.
say too, as a parent, it's just a really special, unique way to kind of get to know, like I said before, kind of inside out your campus and your district. I think sometimes as parents, we just go on autopilot and we just think that everyone's doing their job and they get it done by the end of the day. But our districts these days have so much on their plate, and I can speak for my district, and I know that they do a tremendous job to try to engage and empower and care for every single type of kid from one end to the other. And I feel like as a parent, part of my role is, my children are in public education, so I want to help support their education and the people who show up every day to educate them as much as I can. And so I feel like the SHAC is a unique way from the healthy lifestyles type of view, just to make sure that those things still matter during the school day, because a lot of times other things matter during the school day, and like Mario alluded to, the STAR, and these health issues may get a little less attention. So I feel like it's just a really good way for us to just stay connected and to keep moving those policies and those recommendations forward.
Thank you, Melinda. We appreciate
You're welcome.
We appreciate your insight. And if you will hold back here in a few minutes, we're going to hear from our community partner organization representative on a SHAC, Ms. Joy Self. And then following Joy's presentation, we are going to move on to a panel of questions for all of our presenters. And so please keep the questions coming into the question answer or chats, and we'll be addressing those just momentarily. So Joy, take it away, please.
Thank you, Alice. Melinda, that was great. And Mario and Amanda, man, it's hard to go behind y'all. My name is Joy Self. I am the County Extension Agent in Baylor County in Family Community Health. And so when I moved to Seymour 6 years ago, I had heard about the SHAC, but was asked to be on it when I took this job as County Extension Agent. So I've been on the SHAC committee for 2 years. And next slide. Okay, we're changing gears a lot because we're in rural Texas. In fact, I feel a little redneck with my deer on the wall. We are a small town, population 2,817. We're class 2A. As you can tell, we only have 283 students in elementary. You see the middle school and the high school. We are not very big. I put on there that our mascot's a panther. The reason I did that is because I actually saw a panther in Seymour when I moved here. We live in the country and there are panthers around here because I saw one. And I put, we are ranked A in the ranking system in our school district. And I put on the map where we're at because a lot of people don't know where Seymour is. But as a committee, as our town is making a name for ourselves, I don't know all about the SHAC awards. I'll have to ask our facilitator. We don't talk about awards, but I know that for one of the programs that we do at the school, the Learn, Grow, Eat, Go, we did get a certificate from Sid Miller. So I thought that was cool that we were able to get that certificate. You can go to the next slide, Alice. Enough about Seymour. So the SHAC at Seymour ISD, it was established in 2007. We have 5 committee members that are on the faculty and 6 parents. Okay, here's the thing about a little town. We kind of do everything. So like if you had a lot of people on the committee, you wouldn't have anybody left in the town. So I actually, when I got on the committee 2 years ago, I was a substitute teacher before I took this job. And then I was on the school board. I'm on the PTO. I'm a parent. And now I'm an extension agent. And now currently I'm still a parent and an extension agent and on the PTO. So I kind of, in a small town, you have to wear a lot of hats because you can't find those people to be on all these different committees that only has that one role. So I think it was Mario or Amanda said about the school board member. Yes, it is awesome to have a school board member on there because they can give you a lot of input and be the support system. Our mission statement is to be the voice of our students and provide health awareness to our staff while providing school health issues to our community at Seymour ISD. So what I can tell you as a community involvement, one thing, and I know your towns are a lot bigger, but reach out to your extension agent. Every county has an extension agent, and AgriLife has so many incredible programs to offer for the school that are free. We have a lot of Better Living for Texas programs. So what I implement in the school, because it's based on the mission statement and the goals, but just me as one community involvement, I had to write it down, the hand washing series. It's a BLT program. I went in and implemented it from pre-K to first grade. Because of COVID, the kids needed to learn how to wash their hands. Second grade, we do Learn, Grow, Eat, Go. Our school was recognized by Sid Miller for that. And then in third grade, Balance in Food and Play. And in fourth grade, Hatching in the Classroom. I mean, it just keeps going. And then all this is part of the SHAC because of working with AgriLife. We have different community involvement too, but this is just from my perspective at what AgriLife has to offer in the school system. We also have one of my favorite programs that you can really involve your community is Welcome to the Real World. Now, I know that right now not many people can go back in the school, or you still may be doing distant learning, but I'm about to do that program, which is a finance program for juniors and seniors. And so my first year here, I asked school board members to participate and be volunteers for those programs. So I don't know. I just encourage you to you look at your mission statement and goals and reach out to your community and get them involved in those. Next slide, Alice. Mine are short and sweet. I like to have fun. So when I agree to be on a committee, you have to be enthusiastic about it, or you might as well not be on there. And we all go through times where we don't have enthusiasm. I know we all feel strung out, especially in a small community, because I moved from the Metroplex, from Coppell. And so I was in the big schools. I was on the PTO. I was on, volunteer and that parent, but I could just volunteer for one thing. In a small town, you can't just do one thing. Like you have to, like tonight, I'm feeding the kids at church. I mean, you have to be, you wear a lot of different hats. So one thing I had to remind myself is to have enthusiasm, because enthusiasm is contagious. So when you're on the SHAC committee and something's brought up, just be excited about it. I'll skip down to implementation. You can have the enthusiasm, but you walk out of that meeting and you don't do anything about it, then there's no use to talking about it. You just wasted time talking about it. But enthusiasm, just remember, if you're on this webinar right now, obviously you're involved in SHAC, or you want to be. Well, bring that to your SHAC program, is enthusiasm and getting involved and helping your school. I would hope that we all have the same vision in helping the students and the teachers and their attitude. Don't ever give up. If you think that someone's not going to volunteer, I mean, they're not going to unless you ask them. So your attitude about doing a program or reaching out to a community member, just don't have a bad attitude about it. Just go ahead and do it. And then you can decide if that's something your school wants to do or not, and be flexible. There's a lot of people not on our SHAC. We're all flexible, honestly. We all get along well. We all have the same vision about helping others, and we're all friends. And so it's easy to be on my SHAC committee because we're all friends and we have each other's numbers and we text. And so, but you do, I mean, just be flexible. If you're not passionate about a certain thing, then just don't say anything. I mean, let that person that's so passionate about it take the ball and run with it, but just be flexible about what you do and then be hands-on. I mean, if you're on the school board, I'm telling you this too, because I was on the school board. You sit in that board meeting and you really don't know what's going on unless you get out there and work and volunteer your time, not only to just be on the board, but actually get your hands dirty. If you don't know if these kids are getting exercise or not, then go up to the school. I know it's kind of weird right now with COVID, but when we get done with no one's let in the school, go up there and just see what's going on. Just don't be a vote. I mean, you've got to go experience it and what the teachers are going through. And I can't emphasize enough to be hands-on and to implement your programs, because just like our SHAC, we do have a lot of great ideals, and it was hard because we had a lot of stuff going and then bam, the pandemic. And so it is hard to get that steam going again and get it implemented, because the ideal can just sit on a paper. And if you don't implement it, it's just the thought. So that's really all I have, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy. No, we appreciate it. What we are going to do now, now that we've kind of heard a foundation of where everybody is in their current situation, we have a couple of questions here that we're going to ask our panelists to respond to, as well as questions that are coming in to the Q&A section. So before we kick off, though, I want to address some of the immediate questions that have come up over the Q&A. So to all of our panelists, anybody who wants to respond here, there was a question, Mario, I think.
Alice, can we ask
yes.
everybody, all of our panelists, you can unmute or at least
yes.
put the video on so that
yes, if everybody would put their video on so we can at least see everyone, and then we'll have responses. Thank you, Michelle, for a reminder. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and ask some of the questions. And one of the first questions relates to, I think, something you had mentioned, Mario, about SHAC meeting times. So this is a question we get quite often related to, when is the best time to host a meeting? And the question related to, how long are the meetings held? When are they held? And so let's hear from a couple of panelists about how you make things work in your area. And Mario, I'll start with you. Oh, Mario, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
Okay, well, sorry. That's an important question, and it's a good question to ask. But one thing that over the years, the survey has really helped us. And you're never going to get 100% of your membership that's going to say this is the right day or the right time. So I just go with, like 80% on it. And we work with that, okay? But I've noticed that as long as we announce the meeting with ample time, then the other 20% will work as hard as they can, because we do meet during lunchtime. When we used to meet on Thursdays at 5 p.m., we thought it was a good day, but now it didn't work out. So it's all about just do a survey, find out what's the best time. I think we noticed that by feeding them, they like that, so it worked out for us. So that's just one example of what y'all might want to consider.
Amanda?
Our meetings, we set at the beginning, but honestly, since this was my first year, we did have to do a parent registration and poll of the best dates and times, or literally like the day and time that would be best for everyone. And we did take that, just like Mario said, kind of the consensus from everybody. We did set our 4 general meetings at the very beginning of the year as part of our expectations that we expected our members to at least attend those. Our subcommittee meetings are optional meetings. We encourage them to attend those meetings because that is where the bulk of the work for our SHAC is taking place in the discussions. But those meetings we find as we go along. We use an app called Doodle Poll where we send out information and ask what best is specifically for that subcommittee. Although our entire SHAC is invited to that subcommittee, we do have a core group that does meet with those. Our general meetings last usually, I try to keep them right at no longer than an hour and a half. That's about the time that we've had, but that's including presentations, voting on our meeting minutes from the previous that we've discussed, and then any upcoming information that we need to share that goes out. So they last about an hour and a half generally. And then our subcommittee meetings last probably about an hour. We try to keep it right at an hour for our members. So that's how we do it.
Melinda?
Hi, our meetings are on Tuesdays. They start at noon. We always have lunch. Well, you can get there at noon and get your lunch. The meetings actually start at 12:15 and go until 1. And then we, if necessary, will break out for our committee work. So your time commitment there, if you come and get your lunch, is usually from noon to 1:30. And that those meeting dates are set at the end of the year once they get that on the calendar with the school district. So we certainly have extra notice, plenty of notice and time to get that organized. And then there are several subcommittee meetings that are required, but then if you get to a point like we just did on the committee that I am, when we didn't really have anything else we needed to do, then we were asked if we needed to meet, and everyone decides as a group whether or not we need to. So we didn't meet this last month. So there is flexibility in that, just depending on what's on the schedule and how far along you've gotten with your recommendations, which is all documented and kept up with, and that sort of stuff. So there is flexibility in that time as well.
Okay, super. Joy, anything to add when y'all meet?
No, yeah, I'm about the same, except we meet for 1 hour and it's like about 1 to 2.
Okay.
Just the flexibility of people.
Okay. Super. All right. One of our next questions has to do with where the meetings are held. So how are y'all consistent, or are you moving your sites around for hosting meetings? Obviously, over this past year, many of us, including myself and our school's SHAC, has moved to Zoom. But typically, in a typical situation, how are you ensuring the meeting site is being consistent? Or Amanda, would you like to respond first?
Yes, ma'am. The meetings, honestly, this year have all been on WebEx, but in the future, our goal is to have them at different locations around because the district is so large. We'd like to host them at our administration building and then at the actual campuses as well. And then we've also, in the past, they've utilized our community center as well to host meetings. So.
Anyone else want to add? Melinda?
Yeah, we have, we've been online, which has actually worked out really well. But in the past, we've always met, we have a central location at one of our sports parks, and it has offices in there. And so we were meeting at our district offices, but then once that sports park was completed, they have offices in there. And it's nice because we can have, there's a big meeting room for the general meeting, and then there's little rooms that we can break out and go to our committee meetings.
Okay. Joy or Mario?
We meet at our school.
Okay. All right, next question. Are SHAC parent members able to attend these webinars? And so, yes, absolutely. So one of the things that we would encourage is, if you're attending today, please register As one of our Texas Action for Healthy Kids, go to the website, register, and you'll receive information about all of our upcoming trainings that we have for SHAC members. In addition, there are a number of partner organization newsletters that also help cross promote from our steering committee members, and through AgriLife Extension, we have a monthly school health happenings newsletter that all of our agents have access to. And many of them try to promote to schools and parents across the state as well, as do our other partners, It's Time Texas and Michael and Susan Dell and all of the groups. So absolutely, we'd encourage you to please go onto our Action for Healthy Kids website. And also you could watch some of the recorded, previously recorded webinars as well. Okay, here comes the question. Do y'all anticipate continuing with virtual meetings next year for your SHACs, or going back face to face, or is there going to be a hybrid? And I think, Amanda, I'll let you answer first, because I think you kind of alluded to this in your last response.
I agree with Melinda that it actually has provided a great opportunity, because we have not had the chance to be face to face, and I'm being new in this area too. It's definitely been even with not just our SHAC general meetings, but just meeting with district leaders and trying to share with them about SHAC. I've been able to see them face to face on these WebEx. So I think it will be kind of a combination of the two moving forward. It actually has kind of benefited us in that way, and so I think it will be something that we continue.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Amanda. It's something that we'll definitely take a look at it, because it has its pros and its cons, right? And perhaps to me, at the end of the day, it's when am I going to have the most participation? And we do meet at the same time, and we have more participation, we're going to be okay. So that's something that definitely I will look at. And maybe we do need to use a combination for those that have problems getting to the meeting and they really want to be part of the meeting. So we'll do a quick, we call it Teams in our system. And when we did our virtual meeting, it worked out pretty good. People were there. And so at the end of the day, it's something to look at, right, Amanda?
I agree. We try to make it entertaining as well. We have a slideshow that we provide throughout, so we try to make it entertaining. And but it definitely has benefited this year.
Perfect. Melinda or Joy, anything to add?
I would just agree. Initially it was kind of tricky just because it was frustrating and we're all learning it. But I think it's been kind of a blessing. One of the few good things to come out of this is it helps that person who might not be able to drive in, or especially for parents, or for someone working, maybe you can log in and attend part of the meeting, and maybe you couldn't have stayed for the whole time if we'd been in person. So I think it does. And now I feel like we're accustomed to it. I don't want it to be like this forever, because, it is that interactions and the side chat and the seeing each other and asking about kids and dogs and all that kind of stuff after that make it also enjoyable and valuable. But I do like the flexibility. To be honest, I'm not sure with our school district. My son's graduating in a month, and we don't even know where that graduation is going to be held. I do know that our district will be back on campus in the fall. As a PTA mom, I've been to campus once, so I would assume if the kids are back that we would be able to. And so then maybe all these meetings that we've had virtually will then become in person again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Another question. Oh, sorry, Joy.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I miss the face-to-face. I'm a people person, so it's been really hard. But I can totally see in y'all's big districts, you need that flexibility because of time constraints and traffic and everything. So it would be great if it's a hybrid. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so switching gears, or similarly, I guess, we've had another question come up regarding having really an impactful district. So the question reads, for SHACs that want to become more impactful to their district, what are the initial steps that you would suggest for getting parental involvement? So how do they start? Do they go to principals? Do they start with PTAs? All of the above? What suggestions would you have? Who wants to take it first?
I guess I can.
Let's start as our parent. Yes, Melinda.
As a parent, you know, there's a lot of parents in different capacities on campus. And, you know, as I think Joy was saying, or maybe Amanda, that you get a real mix of types of parents. Like, I don't think you want your SHAC to be full of the same kind of parent. So you want to reach out to, you know, we have a program called Watchdogs, which is for dads to go with the littles on the elementary level and help them get in and out of the car. And, you know, they kind of, it's a safety thing around the campus, you know, but all the way up to the lunchroom mom, to the PTA presidents or the PTO, or, you know, if you have a good relationship with your school board members, they're often out and about in the community, and of course have the relationship with the principals. And I can guarantee you that that principal knows a couple parents on campus that would be committed to the SHAC time. They know who comes on and off, and you know, their PTA presidents do. If they have a PTA or a PTO, they certainly know, and they know the interest of that parent. I mean, I was asked to be on SHAC because I've always been in a healthy lifestyles chair somewhere, so that was just an obvious fit for me. But yeah, I think that's a great place. I think the school board is a great place. Of course, your principals. You know, even some of your teachers may know, some of your teachers that sponsor clubs and that sort of stuff may know a parent that has a commitment to the health and wellness of the kids.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Melinda. Okay. All right, Michelle, if we could jump back to the questions that we had on our presentation slide.
There was one more question, and it's a really tough one. From their sex ed abstinence programs, is there a list of approved programs for Texas? And how does your SHAC go about reviewing and approving those programs and handling parent disapproval of previous year's programs? So are any of you feel that this is something you can address? To my knowledge, there is no approved or recommended programs for the state. And I think that what you will find through TEA is guidelines for what can be included in a sex ed program or what can't be included. But past that, if any of you would like to share a bit about your experience in this is one of the toughest things. It was, I will be honest, Austin ISD SHAC really struggled with this over several years. As to how and getting an approved program. In fact, I'm honestly not sure if it was ever approved. I do know that Northeast ISD had some challenges with their program. But anyway, I think if any of you is interested in this is a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind starting. I know it is a tough one, right? And one of the things we did, and it might not even be the right thing to do, but our SHAC, especially our parents, didn't like the sex education term, to be honest with you. So we changed it to human growth and development. But it doesn't mean it's the whole thing, because I'm on the Shape America board of directors, and they just came up with a position statement. And it took a long time. And we're talking about health professionals throughout the country. So yeah, it's real tough. What we've done in the past, luckily, is that we just try to keep it simple, and we try to keep it in line with whatever the TEACs call for. And that's all we say. Hey, this is what the TEAC says, and this is what we're going to do. And we kept it simple. I think in the Rio Grande Valley, to be honest with you, I think we're a little bit more behind. We don't have the issues. And I remember talking to Michelle over there in Austin, and bless her heart, I don't know how she survived all of that. That was difficult. But we haven't gotten there, but I'm sure we're going to get there. But one thing I did, I know we have our Department of Counseling and our school nurses, that I have them on that in case we have to talk about the science part. But it is not easy. It's a tough question. And anytime it's brought up, even some of our school board members will even say, well, thank you for keeping it out of our agendas. And it's not that I'm trying to keep it out of our agendas. I think for the most part, people are satisfied that we're just keeping to whatever the TEACs say as to when it addresses human growth and development.
Thank you, Mario. That is a hard one, agreed. Okay. Now, thank you, Michelle. Okay, so, and thank you for catching that question. All right, so let's see. Our first question, we've already kind of touched on about being able to engage and involve parents, or at least to talk about kind of getting parents involved with the SHAC. Let's see if we can jump to the second question, which was brought up by a number of you, as well as early on at the beginning of this presentation, about what is the value and how do you work specifically with district administrators and school boards in your SHACs? What's the role and the relationship there? Who wants to take that first? Amanda.
I can speak just a little bit on this. We really, this year, because of kind of reestablishing our SHAC, we really focused on trying to get as much parental involvement to meet that requirement of having at least 50% of our SHAC be parents. And then we encouraged our district leaders from each component of the WISC model to be a part of our SHAC as well. And like I said, going forward, we would like more involvement from our district administrators and school board. But even right now, we've already had to, just within discussions within our subcommittees, we have our ad hoc subcommittee as well that we've had to invite district administrators. So they're interested. They want to be involved. There are so many things going on right now because of the pandemic, and we have a lot of things going on within our district with rezoning and different things that we are handling here. But they still want a part and want to know more about our SHAC. And so I think going forward, we still want to make sure that they know that they're welcome, that we want to encourage their participation, that they need to be aware, though, of, I think there is still a need for more education for our school board members about what SHACs, the value of SHAC, and even for our district administrators, they really need to know, that we're here to advise and to help. And so really, it shouldn't be us going to them. In my opinion, it should be the other way around, them reaching out to us saying, look, these are the issues that we're facing. How does our community feel about this? Can SHAC discuss these things and then move forward? So going in the future, I think we're going to continue to work with administrators, with our school board, and just create more awareness, educate the district leaderships on the role that SHAC can play within our area and our community.
Mario.
I would like to add that, school boards can be very delicate, but the deal is they're there, and I could just tell you, if you keep them informed, it will always benefit you. Now, with the school boards, we've used outgoing school board members that have been part of the SHAC. They like to be part of that. And we also use active school board members, and we allow them to do that, which is good, because depending on who I've had as a boss, I've had some bosses that try to be they micromanage. They don't want us to get to the school board and let them know what's going on. And I had maybe, I won't say when, but I've had where I wanted to do a report, and then my supervisor wanted to micromanage that. And we really did not have a very good discussion because I told this person that that's not their role, So the last reports I've had in the last couple of years have been like, whatever I need to report, I report. And it's the facts that have happened in the SHAC meetings. And so that's been really good. So there's where you're at. But I go back a little bit further than that, knowing that when school board members are actually running for office, I will call them and I will let them know about SHAC, and I'll ask them what their take is on SHAC. And politicians want your support, right? They're always going to say, oh, yes, I'm about this and I'm about that and blah, blah, blah. And I take my notes and I remember that. So when they get elected and then I see them later, I tell them, hey, If you don't have a problem, I'd like to meet with you. Remember what we talked about, the support that you were about the whole child and the total development of the child. And oh yes, la la la. So it's just a little strategy I've used that I haven't been burned by at this time. But I don't think there's a single person out there, adult, that will not be for what we're trying to do. I mean, how can they tell you they're not, right? Now, it's real funny and it's real interesting. Joy, right? You were talking about Sid Miller, correct, Joy? And I know he's the commissioner of agriculture or something like that, right? And it's always, I mean, it's always, he ended up in McAllen one time. And when he ended up in McAllen, it was not good for him to be around me, to be honest with you. But it was because we worked very hard on a cupcake law, okay? And we had finally gotten it to where the previous Department of Agriculture person was Susan Combs, okay? She helped us a lot. And it was pretty cool, you know, we kept cupcakes out of here. But the new guy comes in here and he did his thing, and it was Sid Miller. And he had his beautiful hat and everything else. I came up to him. It was a great photo shoot for McAllen ISD. I went up to him and said, hey, I'm not too thrilled with you, sir, because of what you did, blah, 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 blah. He was just looking at me. But that's what I am. I'm an advocate for kids. I don't mind cupcakes coming in when they need to come in. And the way I try to keep cupcakes, even though it's not easy, and parents, you know, I can understand, but I always say, what if that cupcake, now we're living in this crazy world, what if that cupcake is spiced by some crazy parent and all those children end up in the hospital? Oh, then we're going to become proactive. Oh, and then our district is going to come and say, nobody ever baked cupcakes. So that's where I come. But because I have that advocacy, I guarantee you Sid Miller knows who I am in McAllen. But it was all good. It was respectful. But I just let them know that not everybody was thrilled with when the law went back about allowing cupcakes to come into our school district. Okay. So that's just a little sidebar.
Thank you, Mario. Melinda, did you want to add something?
Yeah, it's just really, I would just wanted to brag a bit on NEIC because our school board president has been a SHAC member for years. And she works really hard to, you know, take that message back. And our superintendent, our principals will come and sit with us and share what's going on with policy and districts in the district and the state of the school and that sort of stuff. So we're all kind of in the same pot, I guess. We're all just kind of the same person, right? There's not the superintendent and the school board president. They're both very approachable and really sit there and eat lunch with us and talk to us and have great relationships. So we've been very fortunate with that at NEISD.
Perfect.
I have a quick follow-up on that because I'm excited to hear this from all of you. Is this something that they started coming because you educated them about how important it was to have kids healthy and ready to learn, or how did they become? I mean, you may not know if they've been doing this for a long time, but how did you get them engaged?
Well, I think with our school board president, who is Miss Grona, she was a very big volunteer on campus. So she's always had a true love and respect and worth ethic for what she does. I mean, she may be a politician, but that'd be about the 10th thing down our list. So she really cares about what goes on the campus and the health and well-being. So you'd be hard to keep her out of it. And just because she knows the impact that a SHAC or a PTA or other type of advocacy groups can make in the daily lives of kids on campus and their teachers. And we recently got a new superintendent, but even prior to that, our previous superintendent, I guess the motto or the mission is just kind of the more you know, the more you can, the better you do. And so, and that is kind of the ethic or just kind of what our school district is, that if you can sit with different types of people and different types of groups, then you're just going to make your job easier eventually. And so I really feel like we have that consistently with most of our administrators at NEISD, and certainly our superintendent, and certainly our school board president, just that's going to make their job easier if they know what's going on with SHAC or whatever other sort of group meeting it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I want to jump ahead and grab two more questions before we round off the session. I'd like to ask of our panelists, do any of you have any innovative partnerships with community organizations that you would like to share with us or speak to the value in that?
I know, like for us in McAllen, we have, because we have that communication and it's a different kind of partnership. We have that with the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, which is so cool that it helps us to be in compliance. And I know the district loves awards, but we have to be in compliance with like 7 different modules, which are all about the whole child and also community. So that helps us a lot, okay? And then when we had our local, she was out of Corpus. She was what they call their program manager. She would come to our SHAC meeting, so that was always good to have her there and do reports with, to educate our SHAC members of the value of health as it impacts everything. Correct. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, the It's Time Texas, and I don't know if y'all noticed, but I've changed shirts to honor them. I started with McAllen ISD shirt, and then I went to my Alliance shirt, and then I went to the It's Time Texas shirt. And if I turn around, you'll see it. So I'm really happy about being engaged with them. And then locally, we have Texas A&M for those of you Aggies, that they have the South Texas. So I have people from there also on our committee, and they're always, when they speak, they bring a different dynamics to the SHAC, and it becomes impressive. So that's why your makeshift of your membership of the SHAC has to be a powerful group, because when I go to the board, some of them already know those people. So they already know that I have a little leverage on them, okay? And they've learned that, because I know some of these guys, I've been on their campaigns, which luckily they won, right? But one time they asked me a question, and I had already done my report, and I went in there and said, hey, for the purposes, I submitted my report for you. And they said, oh, we want to hear the report. So they made me read the whole report, but that's just the way it is. But going back to that is really important. That's why I love to go in front of the board to give the report. I don't know what percentage of school districts only submit an annual written report, but that, okay, fine, they're going to see it. But when they see me in person and it's an agenda item, then I get to kind of, tell them about what activities we've done and what might be coming their way. If sex education was something, I say, hey, I want to let you know our subcommittees are meeting on that. Get ready. It's going to come your way. And they're probably not going to like that, but that's just the way it is. But those partnerships, like you said, are so important. We have a doctor that comes in there and they talk to them, and it helps us keep everybody. Why we got to not take away physical activity from kids. So hopefully I was able to answer that question for you.
No, that was great, Mario. Amanda?
I was gonna pull out my It's Time Texas mask and support as well. So I've been wearing that. So we actually did pretty well this time with It's Time Texas. But yes, they've been a great support for us, as well as Action for Healthy Kids. But as I alluded to earlier, we have a partnership here in Baytown called the Be Well Baytown Initiative. And as a part of that steering committee, it's all about stopping cancer before it starts. So it's definitely very health driven. And within that steering committee, we have members from our Harris County Public Health System that have provided information with all the SHACs that are in the area. But we're able to also share the work that we're doing on our SHAC with the community, which as a part of that steering committee, we have like the YMCA, we have the college, the local college here, in partnership with the Houston Food Bank, Houston Methodist, ExxonMobil, which is our big refinery here in the area, United Way. We even have here within our district some partnerships with our Education Foundation, so possible funding for our SHACs moving forward. So those partnerships, just like Mario said, are very important to support our schools in meaningful ways. Every campus has a partner in education and local community partnerships that work with them for different initiatives. And so going forward, we're hoping that, our SHAC and our campus wellness teams can utilize those partnerships for the better of our students for health and wellness.
Perfect. Joy?
Yeah, I was trying to think of other ones that Seymour has. Again, I'm not the facilitator, I'm just a member. And so AgriLife Extension, besides me doing a lot of programs, Child Welfare Board, they supply the kids in Seymour with clothes and shoes. And then we work with Helen Farabee because we've had a lot of, I know it's a universal problem of mental health. And then I know our Rolling Plains, I don't know what the sharp lines, they pick the drop them off. I don't know what it's called. They pick the kids up and drop them off after school. And, but yeah, the whole town is very supportive of SHAC just because they want to make a difference. Our doctors are involved, and the whole school's doing Walk Across Texas, which is an AgriLife, program, BLT program. And yeah, and I love what Mario said about going before the school board. Being a past school board member, I think that would be very beneficial because I know it is for my job. We report to commissioners and the county judge, and we report every month what I do because, and I think that would be beneficial for SHAC to do that to school boards.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Next question is, if y'all can, in a nutshell, what would you say is the one or two key factors to your successful SHAC? Try to boil it down. Melinda? Oh, sorry. I saw Melinda first. Go ahead.
Well, one or two key factors. It's just the strength of relationships, which sounds so basic, but you have to have a group of people that can all work together and be respectful of each other's times and what each person, I've just never felt like I'm just a parent there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I might not be a district employee or a business or nonprofit person, but I've always felt like, at least with our SHAC, that meeting, that I matter there, and that I'm one of the most, and the parents, we're all the most important ones in the room, because we kind of bring the reality, at the ground, in the trenches, I guess, and so I guess just valuing everybody's time and being very structured. I think that's why we work, because we feel very and it's just a safe place, I guess, and that works because we respect each other's relationships and each other, but also because we know we're in a structured environment. It provides a safe place for us to agree or disagree, or there's no judgment. And so I've always felt like it's just, if I want to say something that someone else might not agree with, then that's okay, because they appreciate those different ideas and different viewpoints. And so I would say that just strong relationships, being respectful, and having a safe place for everyone to come and, work out the issues that need to be dealt with.
Thank you for your perspective, Melinda. Mario?
Yeah, I think I talked about it earlier, and it's good for me to come back. And I talked about it in one of the slides about, developing that culture of how, and then establishing the value that the SHAC can add to the entire district, to the entire community. And then, of course, you got to show that you are impactful, that you were able to do some strategies that impacted. And real quickly, it went back to that wellness compliance form, that we were having problems in physical education where the rule of the state says like 180 days. I don't know why they put this rule in there, that they could take out kids 10% of the time, which meant 18 days. And most of my principals pretty cool with it, no problem, move forward. But then you have those principals that are in maybe different parts of town, they struggle with a STAR test, right? So they thought they were going to be real smart, right? So they said it's 18 days. So guess when will those 18 days that they pulled the kids out? Right before the standardized test. So that 18 days is what, 5, 10, 15, that's a little bit more than 3 weeks that they would take them out of PE. or fine arts. The kid never saw that. And I was telling them, you know what, that kid's not going to do better. And they didn't do better because the kid's self-esteem went the other way, right? So with that form then that we put in there, we realized that we put a new stipulation that removal of the students had to be equally distributed throughout the school year. So that means they could pull them out 3 times in the first 6 weeks. So now, right before standardized testing, they could only pull them out 3 days. So at the end of the day, then when the results come in the district, that we're an A-rated school district and blah, 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 it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt that the kids stayed in PE or fine arts. So that's just the one thing that I go back to. Good culture, value, impact, customer service, developer relationship, and things will happen, you know, in your shack.
Thank you, Mario. Okay, real quick, Amanda, and then Joy, we'll let you have just one more word.
Yes, I'm agreeing with everyone. So what Joy said, but with having that enthusiasm, I think that the positive and engaging opportunities for our parents to be involved, that's going to be definitely key to a successful SHAC, and just making sure the structure and, you know, everything is in place so that way it can be effective whenever you do sit down to involve them in those opportunities. So thank you all.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, everything they said, Alice. I get a visual on our SHAC committee holding hands and going and doing it. Just do it. Because you just don't want to stand there and think about it. Hold hands and go do it. So I gave you a visual, Alice.
Yes, I'm getting it. Thank you so very much. And thank you to all of our presenters and panelists. We appreciate all of your input. We ask if you continue to have questions, please submit them in the question and answer section, and we will do follow-up with everyone following the webinar. But we do want to quickly move through a couple of slides that we hope will provide you some last minute information here as well. So as you're thinking about you know, how well is your district, and as you've heard from the group, it's going to be important to get a good group together. And once you have that group together, how do you begin to look at what policies you want to take into order? So the first thing that you want to do is ensure that one of the key factors is going to be actually identifying what is going to be your goal. So how are you going to be assessing your district? And there are a number of resources to help identify what the situation in your district currently is. And so here you will see a listing, and again, we will be emailing links to all of these resources. So I'm going to go through them all very quickly, but just know that they are going to be available to you guys later in a follow-up email. There is some great resources via the CDC School Health Index here. It's free, it's online, it's a great tool to help identify and kind of assess what is the current climate at your school. Action for Healthy Kids has also developed a modified version of the School Health Index that can also be accessed through our website. And it helps generate a report that gives you ideas for improving your campus implementation as well. You'll see here, WellSat is another really great tool that's used to help analyze the school health policies. And as many of our panelists have already alluded to, the Alliance for a Healthier Generation has a program inventory tool that has been used by many of our panelists, many school districts, and it does help lay and the foundation and help paint a better picture of the health status of your school district. Okay, so any of these, as you start looking through them, please don't get intimidated or bogged down by all of these resources and how do I start. It's really important that as you're coming together, that as a group, as our panelists just mentioned, that everyone's working together, divide up assessments, divide up work, and everybody can help get the project going. Next slide. Each SHAC is unique, and each SHAC can develop their own style of leadership assessment and the steps that they're going to take. But there are some of the key elements that will help you be successful. Our Texas SHAC, or TSHAC as it's well known, has developed an assessment tool that can also help a SHAC determine the areas that they should focus on from the process perspective. And you will also see that we will provide resources for how you can access this self-assessment tool as well. Next slide. Many of our panelists referred to providing a report or finding the value in giving your annual report to your school boards. TSHAC has also developed a PowerPoint template that can help guide you in preparing your report. And all of these resources for TSHACs are found on the DSHS website under the school health and TSHAC. And again, we'll send you that email in follow-up correspondence. These are some of the other documents that have specific topics that can help your school district be used to support efforts to comply with the legislative mandates. So you'll also see that there's information in a number of these tools that can help offer support to the school decision makers as y'all are working to identify the school health issues that you'll be focusing on. Next slide. One of the key successes for SHAC is identifying the priorities at the district level. And so Action for Healthy Kids has developed a tool that can also help you in that process. The tool is based on the School Health Index, but it's somewhat abbreviated, and it allows your SHACs to review the district on a variety of components and then determine where you feel that you need to focus your efforts first. We will be sending an electronic copy with the follow-up email of this particular piece as well. Next slide. When you're thinking through the possible focus areas, we do encourage you to keep in mind the criteria that's listed here. Is the problem a problem that impacts a majority of the students? How serious is the problem? Is it something new, or is it something that has been developing? Take all of those points into consideration. Are there some students that are being impacted more than others? It's having your SHAC or even a group of concerned parents go through this abbreviated process is really going to help give everyone an opportunity to express their concerns and help determine which areas have the most interest and the most support. And so as we think about an effective SHAC and having some movement in the success of a SHAC, it's going to be important to maybe start with somewhat of a low-hanging fruit sort of issue, but one that is not only low-hanging, but one that also has a lot of support behind it or a lot of interest. Because once the SHAC begins to see and make some headway, it can snowball and start small and continue moving forward, and just continue and continue and continue and never stop moving forward with the initiatives to help your school environment improve. Next slide. These are some additional resources and information that can help with your SHAC. We've developed a resource page that has a number of these listed here. And again, we will be sending these out in another follow-up email. Everything from TEA to how you can connect up with the Healthy Lifestyles Chair for Texas PTA, which again was also referenced earlier by some of our panelists as being potentially good contacts for SHAC members. Next slide, please. Next slide. Oh, Michelle. Oh, here we are. Okay, so we also want to encourage you to join us in May for our next SHAC webinar. And for our May webinar, we are going to be focusing on how to develop a strong family, school, and community partnership. We hope that you will join us. That particular SHAC is going to be hosted in part by Action for Healthy Kids in collaboration with It's Time Texas, which again is one of our steering committee partners, and many of our panelists have referenced some of the collaborative efforts they've had. So please register to attend. And lastly, I do want to thank everyone for attending today's session. We hope that you always feel comfortable reaching out to myself or Michelle Smith, and we are very happy to assist you where we can, as well as all of our panelists. Many of them have offered to help share resources, and we will be pulling all of those together and sending them out in follow-up emails with all of the resources that we have. So thank you again for joining us today. And we hope that you were able to pull away at least one tip, one gem that will help you as you move forward with your SHAC programming at your district levels. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone.